Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the channel. And should the Miami Hurricanes go after a transfer portal quarterback, and will the NFL influence on college football drive away some college football fans? So the mass hysteria that we endured as Cane fans over the last 72 hours seems to have dissipated, right? For the good. Some people feel for the bad, for they are thinking about maybe team morale and things like that, which that kind of gets into my second subject I want to talk about in terms of the NFL influence in college football. But however, a transfer portal quarterback. Now, these are some interesting thoughts that I was just having about bringing a transfer portal quarterback into the program. Now, I will start off by saying that I do feel that we do need a transfer portal quarterback because as much as I, along with many in the fan base, we did not like the way that Josh Gaddis was orchestrating the offense, calling offense some head scratching plays. There were plays to be made. I'm not going to be completely oblivious to that particular fact, but there was just not enough instances in which plays could be made. Now, some of that could be placed on obviously injuries that we sustained up front, lack of a true number one wide receiver, just a myriad of different things. But I also stated that at the end of last year that I felt like that TVD should not just be handed the keys to the offense, even with the new offensive coordinator. I felt like that he should have to earn it, right? Um, because the precedent should be set that listen, hey, clean slate, new offensive coordinator, all that good stuff like that. Everyone needs to redo. Now, at the conclusion of the spring game, the biggest thing that I took away, and I stated on a previous video, was that I did not think TVD was as far ahead in terms of being the number one quarterback as I thought he should. Now, we can go in and say, well, hey, we had offensive line guys missing. This is a new offense, and, all these particular different things like this. But there were just some things that weren't there, just plain and simple, that things weren't there. I wouldn't call it hate because I think people get sensitive. They want to consider criticism as hate for the simple fact that they have their guy, in mind, and they just feel like if you don't follow them blindly, then you are a hater, which is some of the most foolish stuff I've ever heard in my life. But again, hey, it's a part of fandom. You just got to deal with it. But as I was thinking, I said, man, the perfect scenario going into this particular offseason was supposed to be us having 5 quarterbacks on scholarship. Well, going into summer camp. It's supposed to have been Tyler Van Dyke, Jake Garcia, Jakari Brown, Jaden Rashada, and Emory Williams. That was supposed to be the quarterback room. However, the quarterback room now is just Tyler Van Dyke, Jakari Brown, and Emory Williams. Now, when we talk about a transfer portal quarterback, you have to look at which direction that you would go. Do you want to bring in a guy that is going to be an immediate threat to Tyler Van Dyke? And after what transpired the latter part of this week, I don't even know if that's an option that you want to even bother with, right? Even though some people said that had Tyler Van Dyke left, there was a contingency plan in effect that would have settled the fan base, right? Now, my thinking on that is why not still go after the contingency base? Why still not go after the contingency plan? Not saying that they won't, not saying that they will, but that should still be an option that's still on the table for the simple fact that at the end of the day that I don't think that Jakari Brown and Emory Williams are at a place to truly challenge TVD or really push TVD the way that I think that they should. For the simple fact that, again, just going back to the spring game, I don't think that Jakari at this particular point is the passer that he needs to be to challenge TVD. I can concede that, but I'm not going to concede and get on this train that he's an awful passer. Obviously, Emory Williams is a true freshman, still has a lot to learn, so that's not an option. But bringing in a guy that has playing experience, a guy that has been able to maybe even get a couple of wins as a quarterback would be an ideal situation. But again, do you want to test that theory? And also, if you bring in a guy with the same amount of eligibility left as Jakari Brown, I ask this question. What's binding Jakari Brown or even Emory Williams to be on the University of Miami Hurricane team at the conclusion of next season? Now, not trying to throw out any record predictions, but this is a wild precedent, and this is a wild amount of situation that we have going on. Like what just transpired at the latter part of this week put everybody on notice that this is uncharted territory. Now, whether or not TVD was going to actually leave, or was he actually going to, just as some people say, leveraging his negotiation because he understood the power that the power that he has within this situation, understanding that he knows that look, they need me more than I necessarily need them, right? What's stopping Jakari or Emory Williams from leaving in the offseason of next year? Remember, we got the assurance that Jay Garcia wasn't going to transfer prior to the first opening in the transfer portal, and it was 24 hours before, and hey, boom, he's gone to Missouri. So now, I'm not trying to say that Jakari or Emory Williams will leave, but you do have to think about these particular things. And then if we bring in a transfer portal quarterback, you have to think about it from a roster management standpoint. Okay, if I bring in a transfer and they are showing more promise than the other two guys on here, what do I have to do to entice? What do I have to do to keep them, while also making sure that I try to land a high-profile quarterback in his upcoming recruiting class? So, and that's just not obviously we're just talking about the quarterback position right now, but that's a mindset that has to go to every single position on the football team. Now, like I said, I think we should bring in a transfer portal quarterback, and you let the chips fall where the chips fall. Because at this particular point, until some legislation is drawn up, that's kind of what you have to do. And like I said on a video, one of my very first videos that I did, when I said, is it possible to build what Nick Saban was able to build and what Clemson was able to do during that particular point in time? Are you going to be able to do that in this NIL transfer portal era? And until more data is provided to say that yes, you can do it, I'm going to be on the mindset that you're not going to be able to sustain a 7 to 8 year run like that. Now, obviously, the Georgia Bulldogs are talking three-peat and stuff like that. They've lost some guys to the portal, but it's going to be hard. It's really going to be hard. Now, the funny thing about this is I've heard people talk about the NCAA for a multitude of years. They're inept. They don't do this. They are protecting the SEC. They are looking to punish schools such as Miami, such as USC, any team that could be in a key position to unseat the SEC dominance. They're looking to eradicate that. Now, obviously, of course, the NCAA came down with the witch hunt with Ruiz and the twins about the picture that he posted, came up with nothing, and made a fool of themselves at the end of the day. I want to be perfectly honest. But it is funny that that much venom was spewed at the NCAA, and now to hear people saying that the NCAA needs to step in and put some rules and some parameters in place. They need to try to establish a scenario where there are contracts and they set the precedent about what it is that players can make. And I said, man, this is crazy. This is crazy and this is funny because you're saying the NCAA has messed up so much, and now you want them to intervene. And my thing is like, no, I like what the NCAA is doing, which is absolutely nothing. Let the schools figure it out. Let the market figure itself out. That's what free market capitalism is about. Let the market dictate what it is. And once the market realizes that, hey, the return on said investments or assets or whatever is not yielding what they think it should yield, then it will figure itself out. Now, will that happen in the next 1 or 2 years? I don't know. Will it happen in 5 years? I don't know. But it's crazy that people are asking the NCAA or want the NCAA to step in and intervene and try to bring a sense of calmness and normalcy back to what many people said was really not an amateur sport at the end of the day. And it's not. So that's what's funny to me. And that kind of gets back, and so that kind of segues into my next point. Will this NFL influence on college football turn some fans away? Now, one of the biggest, if not the biggest thing that I hear from people who watch or prefer college football over NFL football is what they feel like is a sense of loyalty, a sense of brotherhood in terms of collegiate football players versus NFL players, because they feel the NFL players are divas. They have a me first attitude in many aspects. They're not so much worried about the team. They hold out for extra money, all these different things like this. And we're starting to see those type of things trickle down into the collegiate game. And so it'd be very interesting to see how college football fans are able to adapt to something that they feel like is the biggest thing that separates their love for college football and their lack of investment in watching the NFL game, right? So again, it all started when players opted to sit out bowl games, right? They opted to sit out bowl games. Obviously, the virus that transpired in 2019 on into 2020, it gave players an out. Where listen, for my health and for my safety, I don't want to play. NFL did not punish those guys. NFL said, okay, well, you don't want to play? Okay, we'll still draft you. We'll just take what limited tape that you have and we'll project it out because that's how the NFL draft is anyway, is a projection, right? So they didn't bother to do anything about that. So now there have been guys that have strategically stated that said, look, hey, I want to redshirt, preserve another year, and I want to look elsewhere to play the game. That's that's essentially holding out. That's essentially holding out. Where I'm going to take a red shirt year, or I'm going to play 4 games, don't want to risk injury, I'm going to sit out the rest of the season, and I'm going to transfer in the fall. That gives me a way to keep my scholarship for the year so I don't have to pay any money out of pocket. So these are the type of things that are going on in college football, and this is just the surface. These are just the breadcrumbs, right? We're going to get a full dish after a while, in my opinion. And while the NCAA stepped in and said, okay, well, we're going to give a 12-team playoff after a while, all these super conferences and stuff are starting to, come to fruition, all this different stuff like this. And this is just the tip of the iceberg, in my honest opinion. And that I think in the next 4 or 5 years that it will be so much NFL influence in college football that I do think it will turn some fans away from the game. Not just rule changes, but just the way that collegiate players are taking care of business, right? In the sense that you come in as a freshman and now you have an agent, you're cultivating deals and stuff like that. They are looking to pass legislation where high school players are eligible for NIL endorsements and stuff like this. So this is going to be very, very interesting. And again, going back to my point from one of my first videos I made, will teams be able to will teams be able to sustain a long run, a 7 or 8 year run of just being the top team? I know some people were talking about TCU, and this is gonna be my last point. And they were talking about, well, TCU went from a team that won 5 games to playing a national championship, and most people's rebuttal is, well, hey, I don't want to be like a TCU. And again, this is just stuff I said in that particular video. We want something long sustained. But the thing about it is that, hey, if you can catch lightning in a bottle, catch that lightning in the bottle, and if you can ride it out to a national championship appearance or even a national championship win, take that. Because what we're seeing guys that are in place to start for national championship for the favorites, national championship favorites, leaving those programs to go elsewhere. So nobody is absolved from this. You would think the reverse effect would be occurring, where you have some good to great players that are on bad teams and they're looking to transfer and go to good teams, which that's still happening. But you don't look at it and say, well, golly, this guy is pegged to be a starter on a national championship favorite, and he's leaving and going to another team that doesn't have the same odds as the team that he just left. And you ask the question, well, why is he leaving? Because I'm going to say this last point and I'm going to get out of here. Because if we're really talking NIL, in my honest opinion, I only think 5% of our college football players are actual for the definition of what NIL is. It's only 5% of college football players that I think actually qualify for that. I think the rest are just pay for play. A lot of players don't have a personality. A lot of players don't have the national attention. They didn't do enough in high school in terms of marketing themselves to get to college and be known by hundreds of thousands of individuals. They're not interacting enough for that type of stuff like that, right? They haven't been featured on any of these little Netflix documentaries and stuff like this, so people don't know them like that, right? But man, with that being said, man, as always, man, what do you guys think, right? Do you think we should bring in a transfer portal quarterback? And another point on that is, obviously we have a quarterback committed already, and obviously I'm sure we're going to try to we're going to try to sign another quarterback. So again, ideally we were looking to have 5 scholarship quarterbacks, and we have 3. So again, is the risk worth the potential reward to potentially lose a guy that's already on campus for bringing in another guy? And just this sick cycle going on, right? But what do you guys think? But again, like I said, my answer, I think we should bring the transfer portal quarterback. And do you think the NFL influence on college football is going to hurt, or is it going to turn college football fans away? But like I said, man, as always, man, like, share, subscribe, and comment. As always, man, it is always about the you.